Hi there guys, welcome to this new video. So this is the first in a series based on Time of Legends Joan of Arc. We're around about 3 months out from delivery of the first wave, which includes the Maiden Pledge, I believe Unleash Hell and a few other bits and bobs. And so what I wanted to do is a bit of groundwork and preparation in anticipation for that first wave. So what I want to do is have a really broad breakdown of the elements of the game concerning history and lore. So what I did was, anyone who knows me from my Mythic Battles Pantheon stuff, I did a couple of videos at the beginning of the year based on the gods and the titans, and what I did was I looked at almost a timeline of those characters. Now that was really easy to do because I had 5 titans to look at and I had about 16 gods. So my preparation for that was really enjoyable, really kind of, it didn't take a great deal of time and it was really interesting. However, what I want to do is I want to do something like that, but a huge broad project for Joan of Arc. So I want to have a weekly video every week for maybe about 3 months or so, something like that. And every week I want to hit on a different part of the history and of the mythology and that kind of stuff. So what I thought I'd do today is a little bit of planning and preparation for that. And I thought I'd commit it to camera and see what you guys think. So what I want from you guys, and the reason I am recording it and putting it out there, is maybe tell me if there's anything I miss from my prep that you want me to do, or if there's anything, maybe the order of things, you might have some suggestions about that, what you'd like to see first. So what I'm going to do, this is the Kickstarter page. I'm going to run through the pictorial of all the different extras boxes to see what we can make videos out of, what would be interesting and potentially what wouldn't. So I'm going to start at the top. So the first characters that we see are Joan of Arc and some of the French heroes and some of the British. So there we go, that's a good place to start. French forces, and English forces. Okay, what have we got here? So we've got the witch, the Tarrasque, I hope I'm saying that right, unicorn and werewolf. So we'll look at, let's classify it as monsters. We have got the Archangel Gabriel, so we'll call that, he can be lumped in with the Holy Forces. What have we got? We've Gog and Magog. So should we do something separate for that? So Gog and Magog, they were giants in French mythology, but they also have, I think there's related information, I think maybe even in the Bible, about Gog and Magog, and them joining the forces of the unholy forces and working with Satan at the I think at the rapture, at the end of the Revelation. So let's start with that. Let's look at Gog and Magog separately. Okay, so now we're looking at, we've got troops. So the troops, from what I understand, is they're not they're not for specific nationalities, so we just build up our forces as required from what's available and use the different colours bases to work out who they are. We've got more angels. We've already got holy forces. We've got wolves. There's some interesting stories to be said about some of the animals in kind of French stories and that kind of thing. Let's have a look at French folklore. And what I'll do is I will look into some French folklore and see if I can match it up with some of the forces that are in the game, because it might bring out some interesting stuff. Maybe might kind of help us to create some scenarios and that kind of thing that we can play in the game. So we've got that. Speaking of legendary beasts, here comes my cat to ruin the video. Okay, so what have we got now? Ghost warriors and skeletons. So maybe we lump that in with the unholy forces. So next up we've got some characters. So we've got blacksmith, soothsayer, bishop, merchant girl, and the bourgeois, who I believe were, I think they were just the middle class. Let's have a look at neutral characters. Now, I don't know if they could actually be considered completely neutral, because the 100 Years' War was based almost exclusively in France. So I would assume that most of the neutral, could you have neutrals, or would they be allied with the French? So in the 100 Years' War, there was previously kind of British, not empire, but British ruled parts of what's now considered France, and a lot of that had been ruled for long periods of time, you know, and so the English, and you know, even some of the kind of non-powerful English and that kind of thing, they just considered that some of the lands overseas were theirs, was ruled by them. So perhaps the people that lived there considered themselves to be part of that rule, and you know, and not considered separate or French anyway. So I'm not really sure. I'll do some recon with that. I will I'll do some more research and find out if that's going to be worth it. So question mark there for now. So the next on here, we've got looking at terrain and that kind of stuff, which we don't need to worry about so much. We've got the beast, which is going to be covered by our monsters video. We have got the griffin, which is covered by monsters. We have got, right, William Wallace and John Stewart. So they are Scottish characters. Now, so William Wallace, he wasn't alive, I don't believe, during the time of the 100 Years' War, but he did have alliances and friends in France, and the Old Alliance, if anyone kind of knows that term, did discuss an alliance between the French and the Scottish, so it was well known. John Stewart, I'm not sure. I believe John Stewart was Scottish, but fought on the side of the English in a different time frame as well, so I'm not sure. So again, I'll look at Scottish characters in their own videos, Henry V as well. Interesting enough, the 100 Years' War, there were a great deal of different rulers, both French and English, who were monarchs of their nationalities. I think there's probably 5 or 6 each throughout the whole time. So obviously it went through a lot of different changes and that kind of thing. Next we've got Mehmed the Conqueror, and we know from the Pledge Manager there was a lot of the Ottoman Empire added in there as well, so we need to look at that as well. To which brings us to Vlad Tepes and Dracula, who, you know, folklore tells us that they're the same person, but obviously there's no such thing as Dracula. But Vlad Tepes, I believe, was a ruler who opposed the Ottoman Empire back in a similar time frame. So that's good, that's interesting. Inquisitor, Plague Doctor, we can include them in our neutral characters. The Great Reaper. Now, so here we go. The Reaper, the Grim Reaper. is he holy or is he unholy or is he neutral? Is he a necessity? So interesting. Maybe we'll look at that elsewhere as well. The cockatrice, we've got something for monsters. We're good there. We can split these other characters. Troops, again, they are all not nationality based. Now we've got some of the unholy forces, so the voracious demons, flying demons, and that kind of stuff. But we've got things for them, got areas for them. Ottoman infantry and cavalry, the apothecary. Okay, so I think we're more or less there. These are all the stretch goals again. Blah blah blah. French army, English army, holy army, unholy army, scenario and battle mode. Alright. Legendary add-on. Alright, so these are all the individual add-ons here. We've got to do something about the dragon. That would be good. Unleash Hell, we can cover in our unholy forces. Legendary battles. Legendary battles. So let's do something on the 100 Years War and history in general. Ars Nova, that is, I think it's the Catholic Church stuff. We must do something on Joan of Arc herself. So, yeah, Joan of Arc, I believe she was only 19 when she died, so she was only involved with kind of the fight back against the English by the French for a few years. I think she only spent maybe 3 or 4 years directly involved. She was from peasant family, so it's a really remarkable story, so we must discuss that further. So that will have its own video as well. Apocalypse, that's fine. Right, okay, so that, I believe, is more or less everything that we can do. Let's have a think to see if there's anything else. Do you know what? In the Scottish characters, let's talking about other nationalities as well. Because in the time of the 100 Years' War, there was a lot going on, and the fact that we've got the Ottoman Empire here as well, maybe we need to look at a little bit of a wider picture on the other nationalities that were involved. Those nationalities involved that don't even exist anymore, that were individual parts of kind of France that were under their own rule, which later on were absorbed into what we know as France today. We've got French folklore. We could. So there isn't a specific box for the apocalypse. Maybe we could include that with Gog and Magog. Right, so I think this will do us. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. It's got 13 videos there. And I think what I'll start off with is probably Joan herself. Then we'll start to look at the history of the 100 Years' War. Then maybe if we start looking at the different nationalities, so start with the French, then the English, then the Ottoman, and then anything to do with Scotland and other nationalities. So that covers that. And I believe then we can look at the neutral characters if we do that. Now that covers everything historical. So then we can look at the holy forces, the unholy forces, then we can look at Gog and Magog and the Apocalypse. Then what next? What next? We can look at monsters in... no, we'll look at the folklore, monsters in general, and finish with the dragon. So I'll get the first one done. I've already done quite a lot of the preparation for this in terms of understanding the characters from the game and that. So I'll get the first one up next week. So that will give us 13 videos. So hopefully that will bring us up to pretty much when we start getting deliveries. If I do one a week between now and then. But what I also want to do is, after we've received the first wave, I want to start putting together some scenarios. I want to start doing some recreations of battles from the 100 Years' War. Some of them were very, very small scale, some of them much larger. I want to do some recreations in terms of stories from the folklore. So I think, yeah. So I think after we've done that as well, I reckon we'll probably get another 15 videos out of that or so. So between now and probably looking at about 6 months worth of content on this game. So I hope this is something people are looking forward to. I'm really looking forward to delving into the history, the folklore, the mythology and that kind of stuff. So I'm going to start pumping these out as of next week, and we'll start with Joan of Arc herself. A bit about her history and her importance to the French forces at the end of the 100 Years' War, or towards the end of the 100 Years' War, because her, although what we know of her as being, and this might be an English perspective, because you know history is written by a kind of at that point in a very sort of nationalist way. So Joan, we might see her as being the little girl who thought she saw angels, but she was so important to French history, and the uprisings and battles that she orchestrated and took part in, specifically of Orleans. So we'll start with that, and I'll have that up for next week. When I receive my the Wave 1 delivery, unfortunately I'm only getting the Maiden Pledge. At this time I just haven't got the funds to get any more, so we're going to stick to the Maiden Pledge, but there's so much content in there that I'm sure that is going to be able to provide us with plenty of stuff going forward. So I hope you like the idea of that, and I'm sorry if this is kind of a bit of a long video. I'm not really going to edit this either, so you'll hear me mumbling through quite a lot of it. But I hope you enjoy the idea of this. I'm really looking forward to doing it, and I hope you'll come and join me with it. So if you are looking forward to this series, please like and subscribe, and ding that little bell on there as well. That will tell you when I've got new videos coming out. And I will see you guys next week with the first video, Joan of Arc. See you later.